She walked the dark street alone, her badge hidden beneath a simple coat. Just another black woman heading home after a long day. But in a city that judged her by her skin before her soul, danger didn't wait for introductions. The car slowed beside her, voices whispering, eyes watching, plotting. Within seconds, her world turned violent. They thought she was powerless, just another victim. But what they didn't know was that tonight, they had chosen the wrong woman. Would you still underestimate her if you knew who she really was? The city had a strange kind of silence that night. Street lights flickered weakly over cracked pavement, and the hum of distant traffic faded into the cold air. Jasmine Carter, dressed in a dark navy trench coat, walked the long stretch home as she'd done 100 times before. To anyone passing by, she was just another woman returning from work. Calm, composed, and maybe a little tired. But behind that steady walk was a mind carrying the weight of a city that never seemed to heal. Jasmine wasn't just anyone. She was the youngest and the first black woman to ever serve as chief of police in Brookfield City. The job came with pride, but it also came with scars the public would never see. Her every decision was questioned, every mistake magnified, every victory quietly dismissed. Yet, she pushed forward, determined to change a system that had once turned its back on her. Tonight was supposed to be a rare moment of peace. The council meeting had run late, her office still cluttered with reports on community crime. But she needed the walk. It cleared her mind, reminded her why she fought so hard to keep streets like these safe for women who looked like her. She adjusted her purse strap, unaware of the danger already circling. A black car crept slowly behind her, its engine barely audible. Shadows shifted in the corner of her eye. 3 figures, half hidden, moving in sync. Jasmine's instincts whispered that something was wrong, but she ignored it, telling herself she was overthinking. She'd faced worse, she thought, but this wasn't going to be just another night. Because the people watching her weren't looking for a victim. They were walking straight into a lesson they'd never forget. The sound of footsteps echoed faintly behind her, steady, synchronized, and growing louder. Jasmine's instincts sharpened instantly. Years of training had taught her how to recognize danger long before it arrived. But tonight, she forced herself to keep walking, pretending not to notice. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe just another sleepless night making her see ghosts. But the city didn't deal in coincidences. The black car that had been idling at the corner rolled closer, its headlights dimming to a predatory glow. 3 men stepped out, hoods up, voices low, their shadows stretching long across the cracked pavement. The streetlight above her flickered, then died completely, plunging the block into a haze of darkness. Jasmine's heart pounded, not from fear, but from something colder. Anticipation. "Evening, ma'am," one of them muttered, sarcasm dripping through the words. He stepped closer, the faint glint of a chain around his neck, catching what little light remained. His tone wasn't friendly. It was a warning. The others circled, their movements calculated, deliberate. Jasmine kept her expression neutral, hand tightening around the strap of her purse. Her badge and weapon were hidden back at headquarters. Out here, she was defenseless. Or at least, that's what they thought. "You lost?" the second man sneered, stepping into her path. His breath reeked of cheap liquor. "Pretty late for a walk, lady." Every word, every step, was part of a test. They wanted to see fear, but Jasmine had faced worse than this in boardrooms and court hearings where power wore a suit instead of a hoodie. She met his gaze without flinching. "Just heading home," she said softly. He grinned. "Not tonight, you ain't." The first shove came quick, meant to intimidate. She stumbled slightly, catching her balance. Then another hand grabbed her shoulder. The purse strap jerked violently. Her elbow shot back on instinct, connecting hard with someone's ribs. A grunt, a curse. The fight was on. They didn't expect resistance. One of them lunged, trying to tackle her. She sidestepped, driving her knee into his stomach. He doubled over, gasping for air. But the third man was faster. His fist caught her across the jaw, knocking her down to the cold pavement. The taste of blood filled her mouth. She heard laughter, the kind that only came from men who thought they'd already won. But even on the ground, Jasmine's mind was working. Years of tactical experience kicked in like muscle memory. She rolled, sweeping her leg under one attacker, sending him crashing down. Pain shot through her shoulder as another grabbed her hair, yanking her back. Then came the light. A porch across the street flicked on suddenly, flooding the chaos in harsh yellow glow. A small voice called out, "Hey! What's going on out there?" An elderly woman's trembling silhouette appeared in the doorway. The men froze, panic flashing in their eyes. Cameras, witnesses, they bolted, sprinting toward the waiting car. Tires screeched as they vanished down the block. Jasmine stayed still for a moment, chest heaving, vision spinning. Her purse was gone, but that wasn't what mattered. Hidden inside the strap, what those men didn't know, was a tracking device. A small ceramic chip built for one purpose: to find whoever thought they could terrorize her city. She pushed herself up slowly, brushing dust and blood from her coat. Her knees burned, her lip throbbed, but her eyes, those were steady. The night wasn't over. Not yet. As thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, Jasmine reached into her sleeve, tapping the transmitter hidden beneath her cuff. Somewhere across town, an alert pinged on a secure channel at headquarters. The hunt had begun, and the people who thought they'd robbed a helpless woman had just awakened the chief of police. Rain poured hard against the windshield of the unmarked car. Jasmine sat silently in the passenger seat, her split lips still raw, her jaw tight with resolve. The tracker had led them to an old laundromat on 4th Street, abandoned for years, now lit faintly from inside. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her team begged her to stay back, to let others handle it. But this was personal. From the shadows, she watched 3 men step into the glow of a flickering light. The same voices, the same swagger, her attackers. And standing behind them, someone new, a man in a tailored suit, too polished for the grime of that place. He handed them an envelope thick with cash. Jasmine's chest tightened. It wasn't just random crime. It was organized, paid, controlled. Someone was targeting neighborhoods, spreading fear, pushing black families out of their homes under the cover of violence. She tapped her earpiece once. "Units, hold position. We move on my mark." Lightning flashed, throwing the scene into sharp relief. The man in the suit turned, his smirk illuminated for just a moment. One Jasmine recognized from City Hall meetings, a man who'd shaken her hand in public and undermined her policies in private. Her pulse thundered. She stepped from the shadows. "Brookfield Police!" Her voice cut through the storm like steel. Chaos erupted. The men scattered. One bolted for the back door. Another drew a knife. Jasmine moved faster, disarming him, slamming him to the ground. The suited man stumbled backward, shouting into a phone before dropping it into a puddle. Sirens howled closer. The trap had been sprung, but then gunfire. A single shot. Glass shattered above her. The man in the suit was gone, vanishing into the maze of alleys, leaving behind cash, blood, and the truth she'd been chasing for months. As the rain mixed with the red on the pavement, Jasmine stood over the fallen attacker, her breath ragged. The darkness had faces now, names, power, and, she realized with icy clarity, this wasn't just about her mugging. It was about an entire system built to keep people like her afraid. The night she was attacked wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was a message, and Jasmine was done being silent. By morning, Brookfield City felt different. The storm had passed, but the echoes of that night still clung to the streets. Jasmine stood before the mirror in her small office, a faint bruise tracing her jawline. Behind her reflection hung a map, red pins marking neighborhoods once dismissed as unsafe. Now, every one of those pins told a story, not of random crime, but of targeted fear. The men from the laundromat had been caught before sunrise. Their phones, their payments, Every message traced back to a single name, the same man in the suit who had once smiled across the council table. The city's so-called redevelopment program had been a cover for something darker, a campaign to scare black families out of their homes. When the truth came out, it shook the city. News cameras crowded the precinct. Headlines praised the bravery of the unknown woman who'd fought back, not realizing that woman was their own chief of police. And when Jasmine finally stepped forward, revealing herself to the public, the silence that followed wasn't disbelief. It was awakening. Her speech that day wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. She spoke of how fear had been used for generations as a weapon, how safety and privilege were too often decided by the color of your skin. She reminded them that real leadership meant standing up, even when the system tried to bury the truth. But beyond the cameras and applause, Jasmine walked the same street again that night. The same cracked pavement, the same flickering light, only this time, neighbors were outside. Porch lights glowing, people watching out for each other. The city hadn't changed overnight, but something inside it had shifted. Jasmine stopped beneath that same streetlight and whispered to herself, "They thought they could make me afraid." She looked up at the night sky, her voice steady. They were wrong, because her fight wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to every person who had ever been told to stay quiet, to every family forced to live in fear. And now the question echoed louder than ever. How many more stories like Jasmine's will it take before justice doesn't have to fight this hard to be heard? Don't miss more powerful real-life stories. Hit subscribe now.